Okay, we are theoretically recording.
Perfect.
All right, let me close up the view screen a little bit. And all right, so you should all see my screen. I can't see you while I'm talking, but I will stop every now and then and bring up the view so that you can see me if you have some questions. There's a couple of logical stopping points, and of course, you're welcome to throw something into the chat, and we will go ahead and get started. So, talking about an organization that I've been a member of for 41 years is a challenge. And in terms of the fact that, boy, do I have a lot I can talk about. But we're going to talk a little bit about, the American Association of Women and what it has allowed me to do in my years there. And we're going to talk a little bit as well about the League of Women Voters. I've been a member not as long at all as the Association of University Women. And throughout it, you'll see some pictures every now and then that are a little bit historical. And if you stay with me to the end, if we have time, I have some information on Equal Pay Day, which we just passed the national average equal pay day last week. So again, lots of things to talk about. So I thought I'd begin with this picture of me on a January day in 2019. Second time I've gone to Washington, D.C. in January, the first time 2017. And the second one here, I had a little bit of trouble trying to decide what one thing I wanted to complain about, but I decided that I would complain about a lot of things. Two of us went down, and it was actually in addition to the march. I also visited the national headquarters of AAW. So it was a very interesting combination trip. I do have a number of things that I want to talk about, and I think they're more or less going to fit with the agenda that I have. So I mentioned that last week we passed Equal Pay Day. One of the things that happens sometimes when you're the state president is you show up at an event in the audience and some local members say, you need to stand up in the State House and say something about Equal Pay Day. Joining a state legislator who's been putting equal pay legislation hopefully into the queue every year for over 20 years. And in Indiana, they were having a voting place. And the local folks are branching Atlas, passing out little payday candy bars. So that was one of my many opportunities that I had to be the face of AAW, in other words. So as I was preparing for this, I've been a member of the organization for 41 years. I was a 5-year, 4-year president of the state because the last year, of course, was the COVID year, and we just extended everybody's positions for another year. So I had put together a couple of convention programs, and I had the coverage here because I really like the message of resilient leadership. And some of you may be in leadership positions, and you may not be thinking necessarily about resiliency. But as I was looking at the convention program, looking at what I, as president, was saying I wanted to do, and in the years I was president, in terms of leadership, and I wanted to define my leadership skills and those of others and refine them within the organization and personally, because of course we always go in different positions. Now you see this odd design here that looks like ribbons, and that's because they are ribbons. Around this time, ISU, the staff, were doing some interesting ribbon designs. It was a national project for making ribbons. I made for two different conventions. Everybody got their ribbon resiliency. I still love that. And then I put on the cover of the convention booklet some of the pieces that make up letter, make up leadership in terms of what I was doing. And then also, what was odd about this time is my library life and my booking life came together. And that while I was looking at a publication put out by the Association of College and Research Libraries, they had a statement about resiliency of that organization. And I said, well, this is exactly the same kind of message that I need to share with AUW. So I just borrowed it and changed it a tiny little bit from librarians and ACRL members to AAW members. But we do, working within our membership, we have challenges, we have models for transformative change, and we need to figure out within AAW during these years how we can respond more nimbly and effectively to the shifting landscape. And the answer is resiliency. And again, it's just the ability as an organization, also as a person, but as an organization, because that's the focus, to face unexpected adversity or change and continue providing core services. And so is that, that sounded pretty good. I also added at the time that I was using a phrase within my library world that I would put as a phrase in some of my files and my emails, balancing the learning with levity, because you do have to lighten things up every now and then. And so I for AEW, I take it to balancing the leadership with levity to celebrate and enjoy the membership and the leadership opportunities. Just have some results and fun while we're doing it. So I wanted to just share those little tidbits with you and show you my very cool ribbon. If you need to know how to hold those, I have no idea because so much time has passed. But there are probably people on campus that can tell you that. So I'm a member of an organization that's been around since 1881. So I joined in the centennial year of 1901. I joined down in the state of Arkansas. And this is a picture of Marion Talbot on the left-hand side when she was 23 years old in 1881 when she founded the Association of Collegiate Alumni, which eventually became known as she founded it as a 23-year-old college graduate. And I want you to remember that 23 years old. He went on to be the Dean of Women at the University of Chicago and had a very long and successful academic career. And she lived long enough to write the 50-year history of the association she founded, co-wrote it with a member. So I think that's really quite amazing. And he actually founded it with really a co-founder with a close friend and kind of a mentor that she had. But when we talk about the founding, we tend to just talk about me. So here she is, a few years older, with the hat. That's very important to a lot of these decades, certainly with suffering. So what's going on in the 1880s? Well, Marion graduated from Boston University. And you can see from this chart that Boston University was founded in 1873. So it was a very young organization. And you'll notice that while most association did fairly early on, and it really what AEW really was in the early days, and what it continues to be somewhat in these days. At that time, a very learned doctor named Edward Clark in 1876 had published a document that says sex in education or a fair chance for girls. That sounds like a happy, sounds like something who would be in favor of women getting higher education, right? No. What he said was he had proof that a woman could either be a pale, weak, neuralgic, dyslexic college student, or she could be a good wife and mother. But she could not do both because the human body did not have enough energy. I'm not making this up. Now, so AEW gets going in 1881, and before that decade was over, they didn't very much know about that study. They did their own study. Health statistics of women in college ed. They did questionnaires looking at what healthy or available in those colleges, like was there a physical education program for women, or various things. And guess what? It was perfectly okay for women to be both if they wanted to, wife, mother, and college student, college graduate. I have read the original research that they did. It's good reading. It's a wonderful research study. They put it all into it. And it was so significant. It's fun to remember more than some things that are more now. Right? Again, pay equity, we may have a chance to come back to that. But AAW puts up so much information and it tries to bring it down to the local level, such as this roadmap to pay equity. And so around Equal Pay Day, which is usually falls around in March, the May national one, they come out with what they call this roadmap, and everybody in every state can print this off and see what the state does have that promotes and what the state does not have. And so you see the different divisions there. This is something that is available to everyone. You have to remember to get to a lot of this. And again, it's all well and good to talk about the fact that pay is not yet equal for men in a variety of ways. But now they're saying these are the solutions that people need to do. So again, that's just something that's fairly recent, and this comes from 2019 data, not quite up to where the census had. So I mentioned in 2019, I was able to go to the national headquarters and visit AEW. And I love this picture on the right because it looks like you may be able to tell it looks like Trump. And that's because it is Trump. And in the early days of AEW, as they formed this national organization, all the important papers were kept in the trunk. I just love that. But let me tell you a little bit while we're looking at this, some of the things that I've been able to do as in leadership positions throughout my time. I mentioned I joined in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and I will tell you that when I joined AEW, I had no idea what it was. And talking to you about it today, you may be going, I have never heard of this organization, but she just told me it's been around since 1881. So why haven't I seen it? Well, that's a really good question. So I joined it. I was working at Arkansas State University at the time, and I was invited by somebody to go to a local branch meeting. And and I joined, and we kind of fit around in AEW that when you do join at a local branch level, the first thing they want to do is make of the branch. And yep, I became secretary of the branch. They actually paid right away. But probably my most interesting piece of that while I was down in Arkansas is I had two really wonderful mentors that I met by going to state conventions, and then they were with me when we went to several national conventions. And so they were able to explain the goings on of the business meetings, which were very interesting parliament and lots of voting and all of course, in person and not online in those days. And then they kind of encouraging us to be around them and start to develop what I wanted to do in organization. And I remember one day we had a presentation at the state level about one of the issues that had been chosen for national studying or action, and it was national security. And I remember standing in line for lunch and going, I'm kind of interested in national security. Maybe I could be the state coordinator of that. So I turned to the person who was in charge of choosing people, and I basically said, I think I could do that. Great, fine, go do it. And you might wonder what that entails. I don't have a lot of the details in my brain anymore, but I will tell you one thing that was going on in Arkansas at that time that had to do with national security. First of all, it was before the fall of the Soviet Union, 1989-90, right? We were really concerned about national security and peace. What that actually we ended up concentrating on was that there was a train that passed through the state of Arkansas from a nuclear submarine station, and what was on the train were live nuclear atomic pieces of equipment on their way to be decommissioned. So if anything happens to this train, wherever it was going, I think it's kind of catastrophic for the community that it was in. So when we heard through the network that the train was coming, we would go out and we would stand with a candle, as it was quite secret night, with a candle vigil and protest the train. I always remember this one time, and it happened very often. Two things. One night, we were there, about three or four of us on a big group. The train was late, and there were the FBI vehicles parked not too far away, and who were keeping an eye on us, being careful. And so I went over to them and I knocked on their window and I said, what happened to the train? I think they were a little discomforted by that. They just wanted to know when the train was coming. Right? But the other thing is that the train went through. It was in camouflage colors because sure, why would you get a train going through with benefits painted in camouflage? So finally figured out that everybody had figured out what the train was, so they started painting it all white with the gun turret. So there you go. So when I got to Terre Haute, I became a member of the Terre Haute branch, and I was the representative of IS2 to AAW and AAW campus from 1993 until I retired last year. I we when we started a website, I was not the creator of the website and the state Facebook page, but I was over in about 2008. Let's see what else. I've been a state board member as a for the state level of the college university relations. So universities like ISU that are partners, college partners. Then there are one or two representatives in those other colleges, universities, and we're supposed to work together to resources. I've been director of membership, a branch consultant. Sooner or later, you end up on nominating committees. But good work, good work. And then we moved into social media. So I'm still running Facebook and Twitter, and we're not doing a lot with YouTube right now, but that I've done work with the Educational Foundation for a number of years. We would raise money for graduate funding, graduate education funding, and so we would always have fundraisers. Very traditional for branches to have book sales, and we still have some branches that do that around the state. I've done publicity, and sooner or later, it rise up. I was branch president. I was the bulletin editor, membership at the local branch as well as the state. Of course, doing lots of presentations on campus and at state conventions on a variety of things. I like to talk about the equity when I've been interviewed by some of the local television studios, especially for pay equity, and done lots of resource tables, tabling events, and also represented AEW when the League of Women Voters started the quality market, which we'll talk about. So that is generally some of the things that I've been able to do in my time at AEW. So let me talk a little bit about more about the actual things that AEW does. We promote gender equity for women and girls through advocacy, education, philanthropy, and research. And I just did a couple of screen grabs from our national site so you can kind of get an idea about the different areas. You can see here, education, more and more about the workplace and leadership opportunities. And then just breaking some of these down, you can see that they talk about exploring issues and getting empowered. And a lot of the empowerment has to do with being empowered in the workplace. And we have some wonderful programs. Start Smart, which is a collegiate workshop that can be held to help women learn how to negotiate salaries, even their first job, even the I'm desperate for a job. I would like it to be within my degree area. Oh my God, something's hiring me. No. Negotiate. And then on the strength of that, AEW also runs Work Smart for people in the workplace. And again, talk about knowing your rights as an employer, and knowing how to do better salary wise and so on. And Work Smart has been very well accepted, even to the point where some city governments have bought into the concept of having all of their employees go to work their salary. Now, because of my audience today, I figured let's do with the college students. So I want to talk a little bit about Nicholas. Now, everybody say that silently. Nick Whistle. That is the National Conference for College Women Student Leaders. And registration is going on right now. You can see that it is a virtual conference still. Until COVID, it was in person at the university of Maryland. You can see the dates at the end of May. And I would like to encourage all of you here to listen to this and tell your friends that you should go to Nicholasville and you should look around campus to see if you can get some local funding, especially because it's virtual. It's a lot cheaper than it used to be when, of course, you have to have transportation to the venue and then the conference itself. And so you can go, you don't have to go to AAW. You can go to nicholasville.org and you can get all of the information that you need. But we've had a number of students from ISU go over the years, and we've had presentations by students from other universities like Valparaiso and Goshen College, and some of the institutions up in Fort Wayne, and everybody comes back so enthusiastic. You just really get so much from this conference. There are national speakers, there are graduate resource fairs going on in graduate school, and so I can't really say enough about them. Sooner or later, please consider going to Nicholasville. Like right now, with virtual and do it different. And I really get a feel of it. So here, when you switch back to in person, then you might have that as well. But one of the big things that AAW has done since that first research back in the 1880s are original research reports or sponsored research reports. And these are just a few of the more recent reports that they have done. And again, all of these are openly available. And of course, they relate back to women in a variety of ways. Barriers and bias was a big one just a few years ago. Deeper in depth, because in case you didn't know this, women have more college debt than male students, and there's a whole number of reasons for that. Those are the original report, and then you can see in my graphic that they've also done a 2021 update. And then one of the more recent ones, pandemic report, and that's what you can see the COVID-19 experience. And then another one, the power gap about people who make money at elite universities. So that was a little kind of narrow topic in some of the ones we had, but so here are just a few of the other things that are going on. Of course, we're all really keenly aware of the need to work on diversity and inclusion at every level. Well, just in our organization, it was originally for women only because there weren't that many women around and women educated graduates needed to support themselves. And originally, you had to be a graduate and not just college or university. Remember, I told you that original research study asked questions about what was available to women on various college campuses. And essentially, your college or university had to have certain things before they became part of the official list. Oh, I want you to join AEW. Is your college or university on the list? Why no, it's not. Well, then you can't join. Which I think in a way was to try and to encourage more colleges and universities to have more of the criteria, have more of the basic national criteria. In the late 80s, we moved to men being able to join. We do have a few male members around. A lot of them are spouses and partners, but that's okay. And of course, we also have men and women working at the national level. And you might wonder why that was a big deal, and it was a big deal. Now, also around the early 90s, late 90s really, We started offering memberships to current college students. So that was new. First, you had to have a degree from the correct university. Then you could, if your university was a member, then students currently in college school, like I assume a lot of you are, you can become members for free. And so you get a chance to see what's going on with the organization. In some cases, students have actually formed an official student organization on their campus. We had a very large one at Purdue for a number of years, but that seems to have been inactive, gone inactive. But we still have a organization, a student organization system at the Valparaiso, and I believe also Motion. So those are some interesting opportunities. If you don't have a feminist majority or a now or something related to women's issues, then the AAW might be something for you. You don't have to be part of an organization. You just basically have to go and identify yourself and give your at any university and you can get membership. And then we'll give you a free national membership to use that for a year after graduate. Degree requirements. Many of us within AAW believe that it's time for the degree requirement to go away. And we have actually voted on this several times throughout the last 10 years. And like all kinds of voting when it has to do with constitutions and bylaws, we have to have a very large percentage of members vote to get rid of the degree requirement. That's an undergraduate degree requirement. We understand and appreciate all of the work that the women when women were a rarity get that college and then do something with that college. I just like when we decided that it was okay for men to join, we were not overwhelmed with men, but there were men who wanted to join. Fantastic. And the same thing with the degree requirement. You may recall the name of Lily Ledbetter. Her name is attached to the first bill that President Obama signed, and he has been talking about state equity issues for a very long time, really under the umbrella of AAW. Lily Ledbetter does not have a college degree, so she cannot be a member. And we continue to talk about it. We have dwindling in general membership, unfortunately, and there are a number of issues around this, and so that is certainly something to talk about. But also last year, AAW did develop diversity, equity, and toolkit. But if you're a member of an organization or a club or whatever, and you're interested in exploring those issues, there would certainly be something for you to take a look at here in our toolkit. Again, it is available to everyone who is interested. I mentioned that I was the college university relations person on an ISU for a long time. And then we try to promote student affiliate memberships. We promote the many AEW resources. We certainly talk about the research studies that we do. And again, we are a major, one of the top funders of funding for graduate student research, including international fellowships. And we have some kind of, we have some STEM related funding that we do. They're all at the graduate level. So it's not, I'm going to graduate school and I would like some money. They have some very particular parameters for those, but we fund for millions of dollars every year. And then I also wanted to mention that we do have a number of webinars. A lot of them certainly have an AAW focus, but I've seen one recently on social justice, one on diversity, and so on. And so there might be some things there that you'd like to look at. You can find them on YouTube. You can find them on the site. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment uh, before I segue into talking a little bit about the Freedom of Women Voters and some other things, and just see if anybody has some questions about anything that I've been talking about.
I don't have a question, but I think that was really cool learning about that because I don't think I I've heard a little back and forth about the organization throughout my college career, but you actually putting in depth actually really helpful, and I want to check it out. It sounds really cool.
Well, it is. And it's just, I mean, it's sort of become, it's part of me now, right? I don't know how to not be a YouTuber. But, and the fun part is so this is my 41st year. When I hit 50, when you hit 50 consecutive years, you don't have to pay national dues anymore. And you might think, well, wait a minute, how young was she when she joined? Well, I'm 68 now, right? So I was in my 20s when I joined. Well, traditionally, and into the 70s and a little bit in the 80s, a lot of universities would have a key for the women who were going to graduate. And a lot of women were going into teaching, librarianship, and other things, but really lucky. And you basically got invited by the faculty women who were AAW members by coincidence, and then you joined. So have we have a few 70-year members in this state, and some 60 years, and some 50 years. Uh, so I said, AEW a little longer. One thing let me make clear: you don't have to be attached to a university to be a regular member. You can do anything out there and become a member. Yeah, some people think because it's some people think it's only people at a university, but it's not. Yeah. So certainly want to explore that a little bit. Okay, well let me move on and reshare and talk about a different organization, a lot of which overlaps with AAW in terms of first of all, League of Women Voters, demand. And of course, this is very much part of the history of women's suffrage. And this is Women's History Month. And okay, so this is a picture of the first board of directors of the League of Women Voters. Came out of the North American Women's Suffrage Association. And the wonderful thing about that, and I'm using the old wonderful, is you can see this person here. That's Harry Chapman's hat. He was head of Nassau. At this time, he was the last president of Nassau as we got closer and closer to the 19th Amendment. And she formed, she, in 1919, at the Nassau National Convention, she said, we are so close to having voting for women being nationwide. It's time to think about what to do afterwards. And so she proposed a League of Women Voters. And then in 1930, at the Nassau Convention, it was also the first national Congress of the League of Women Voters. And Maud Wood Park, the person here on the left in the front row, he then was the first uh, president of the League of Women Voters, and this was on her board. So you know, all of these women had been working for suffrage to get women to vote. And it was also a centenary celebration for Susan B. Anthony, but they called it 1920. It had been passed, but it was up for ratification with the states. It wasn't done yet. But on February 14th, they said it's the victory, that's the victory convention. And I can't talk about this. We're talking a tiny little bit about suffrage, but that's a whole different presentation because suffrage worked under over 72 years. So I joined in 2010. I was just kind of curious. I knew I really had no idea what they were doing. I went to a luncheon, annual meeting, and then I joined, and so I've been a member this long. In 2012, the woman on the far right here, this person here, that is a longtime member, Bianca Gamble. She said, we really, we're heading towards the 100th anniversary of the League, the 100th anniversary of all suffrage for women with the 19th Amendment. We really need to do something. So in 2012, you can the people that you see here, these are all League members and some other partners like ISU and the school corporations and others started celebrating Women's Equality Day, which is August 26th, and we celebrated it with programming and with a march because women marched. And in that, since I've been with the organization, that's given me some additional opportunities. I was secretary of the local league for a year, and I've been managing their Facebook site for quite a while. And I just got a new website going, and I'm helping with that. And you can see this yellow umbrella here, which we had the last year that we actually marched, which because of COVID, the actual last march was 2019. And then, of course, we moved to a virtual celebration in 2020. And you might wonder what's the deal with the yellow umbrella. So here's a little bit of women's history. In 1916, the Democratic National Convention was in St. Louis, Missouri. At that time, more Republicans were in favor of the vote for women than were Democrats. And the women of Missouri got organized, and that's the flyer that you see on the left. And they wanted to demonstrate that there were women who wanted to vote. This is, of course, a black and white picture. But these are the men going through the convention as they walk down the golden lane of nothing but yellow umbrellas. And I found that out when I was in St. Louis for a conference. I found a book on the history of women's suffrage in Missouri, read about it, and I said, oh my gosh, we've got to do umbrellas. And so all of the organizations that year were invited to create their own umbrella. This was the Student Government Association that year. Jason Collins was the president at the time. And I'm sorry, I forgot, I didn't have the name of the person. And he's the person who actually did the umbrella. And it was just such a wonderful thing to be able to do. I said a little bit of time about the second leaders, and because we started doing the marches in 2012, I had an opportunity to really dig in depth to women's suffrage history, which let's say I knew something about it, and at this point I don't even know what I didn't know anymore. And I put these Alice Paul. If you've never seen the movie Iron Jawed Angels, it's been around for quite a while now, but Hillary Swank plays Alice Paul. Um, the suffrage was not, really a lot of stuff went on with suffrage, but the important part of this photo is World War One was going on, suffrage women were going every day to violently protest around the White House. This was frowned upon because we were at war. But some of the suffrage people, led by Alice Paul and her congressional union, they said no, because the laws frowned by stopping suffrage during the Civil War. We're not going to stop for this war. And they have started arresting the women. And she is finally going out on this day. She knows pretty much she's going to get arrested. And the Iron Jawed Angels is a very good portrayal of the last few years of suffrage I'm talking about. And on the right hand side, the woman in the fur coat here with the that's General Jones. And in 1913, Alice Paul, in a very few months, organized a huge suffrage parade to be held the day before Woodrow Wilson was inaugurated. So that in those days, March was when the president's office. These women left New York City in February, late January, early February, to walk to Washington, D.C. in that weather to promote women's suffrage and then participate in the parade. Sometimes they slept outdoors, sometimes they slept indoors. They did some programming. They did meet with some people who weren't too thrilled that some of these people were coming through their town. But these are just some examples of the people that were marching. And speaking of marching, I have to show you this picture. This is from October 23rd, 1915. And at that time, this was a parade in New York. In 1915, New York did not have suffrage. Most of the states did not have suffrage yet. Only the western states, they didn't have full suffrage. They couldn't go for everything. It's ridiculous. So in New York in 1915, they had this parade. That's 25,000 people in the parade. The woman here in the black academic robe, that's Dr. Anna Shaw. She was president of the league at that time, and then shortly thereafter, she Harry Chapman Taft, that's here, she took over. But the other reason is that I wanted to do that here. That is Ida Husted Harper. And Ida Husted Harper had some very important years in good old-fashioned Terre Haute, Indiana, where she was an editor for one of the local papers. She met Susan B. Anthony when Mr. Debs brought Susan B. Anthony to town in the 1870s. And Ida became Susan's biographer and helped her write some very important histories of the women's suffrage movement. The 1915 march didn't help. The referendum to give women the vote in 1915 failed. It did receive some successes in 1917, but basically didn't get full vote until the ratification in 1910. Remember I told you to hold on to Marion Talbot's age, that she was 23 when she founded when it became AEW in 1881. Well, in 1851, at the age of 23, this young woman organized the first Indiana Women's Rights Convention, the first official suffrage in the Women's Rights Convention was in Smith Falls in 1848. see the uh, there's a historical marker here, see, and by 1857, she was ready to participate in the state legislature. I didn't care. There's a whole other history about that. But Cincinnati is a Trinitarian organization and away. But you'll also notice she didn't live long enough to see us get the vote. She saw some states get the vote, but not Indiana and not the United States. When the 19th Amendment was ratified, a woman named Helen Bainbridge from Terre Haute was the state leader of the state organization, which was known as the Women's Franchise League. We're not 100% sure because these women are not labeled, identified, but we've seen a really bad photo of Helen Bainbridge in another newspaper, and several of us are pretty sure the path was her. So, a person from Terre Haute was heading up the statewide organization when Women's Equality Day came in to the and again to celebrate the final ratification on August 26th after that. And when we got to the 100th anniversary back in 2020, before things fell apart, in January, the state had formed a Senate Centennial. I actually became part of a speakers bureau from the Indiana Humanities and spoke about women suffrage experience. And I was up and along with a lot of other people, I went to the State House that day to help celebrate the ratification. I know we're getting very close to official ending time here, but I wanted to point out a couple of things that we found out while we were doing our research for our Women's Equality Day marches. I was asked to do research to create some living history badges and discovered that in 1913, what was then known as Indiana State Normal actually created an equal suffrage movement. And that is their emblem and incorporation that we have. And this is a picture of the president at that time. And you can spot there's information in the yearbooks about this organization. I mentioned Ida Humphrey Harper. She did last beyond the ratification. She was a writer, not just a newspaper writer, but again, she helped write the history of women's suffrage. She did a lot of work, and a lot of the things that she wrote for various publications were printed in pamphlets, and it's just a really interesting person. What we really need in Terre Haute is a historical marker. So I figured I probably wouldn't have time, but I did put some things here about equal pay day. I'm going to stop here and going all the way back to me. I'm sitting in my office now. I kind of switch out because I'm semi-retired, but I think it helps. There's a couple of things I just wanted to throw in. When I was in high school, we were reading a book called oh shoot, it was something yesterday, and now I forgot that. It was about 1920, so it was kind of interesting that class. And there was a top psychologist who said that every day you should say the following thing: day by day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. The man's name was Coe, C-O-E with a on it, and I still say that, maybe not every day, but often. But also in my office in Kelly my retirement, I had my three favorite songs. It's a crap-free zone. It comes from a short-lived television series called Sybil, No Decade, and Whimsy Welcome Here. So if you are coming to the SGA Women's History Month Resource Fair tomorrow, I will be there. I'll be in costume. I will have some of the living history badges suffer in a way, and some of the ones of the local equal suffrage league, and some bookmarks. And so please, it'll be in um, 81 from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock tomorrow. So you can stop by and get some more information and get your picture taken with a suffragist, and so on and so forth. So I conclude at this point.
Thank you so much, Miss Marsha. This was so I've learned so much, and I'm so thankful that you were able to present and be a part of this, as this is all about Women's History Month, and this was so, like, I didn't know all of this about Terre Haute, and I've been here for so long. So
We,
thank
we
you
have
so much.
we have several interesting people from Terre Haute that were very much involved in suffrage. And they were very active. And in fact, there was one person here who, as I said, it was a one big happy family. There was one person here, I won't mention her name right now, but women's clubs were very big in the South. And there was a lot of overlap that people might be in the suffrage league, but they also might be in a club of some kind. And there was a Terre Haute woman, an Indianapolis woman, who got kind of nasty in some of the things that they were trying to accomplish for the good of all. So there's so much to learn. And in fact, because of the centennial, this book here, which is a little shiny because it's half covered. We Must Be Fearless, the Women's Suffrage Movement in Indiana. It's by an IUPUI history professor named Anita Morgan. He does lots of presentations. He has a really good book. And this is a really good book. If you want to learn more about women's suffrage. At the end of the month, we are supposed to have a women's history colloquium organized by gender studies. And we'll probably auction off a copy of this. So we're again finalize the event. But anyway, so keep your eye out for that. Certainly, we have copies here. And there's a lot going on. I just sometimes sit down and type in stuff and see.
Does anyone have any questions before we close out? Again, thank you so much for this amazing presentation.
You're welcome. I was really glad to be able to put this together.
Well, we see some thank yous in the chat, so that's really good.
Okay.
Well, thank you all.
I present at parties. If you want to talk more about women's suffrage, I'm available. I've got a great presentation.
Yes. Thank you all so much for coming and attending and broadening your horizons to women's suffrage. Thank you all, and you all have an amazing night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.